Hey!
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Chloe. How are you this morning?
I'm great. You know, I know a little jazz clarinet in the morning. This perks me right up.
Little jazz clarinet. You forget about it, like it's one of those things like you forget about, and then you hear it, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
yeah.
this is saucy.
This is this is something saucy to wake up to.
Yeah.
Although it's 9:30, I mean, honestly, you should probably already be awake.
Yeah, it's not sleep shame, okay?
That's not. We're not gonna sleep. You're right. I honestly, if I didn't have to be awake right now, I probably wouldn't be. I'm still
That's
kind of
fair.
digesting from yesterday.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um
although I did just have a small plate of sweet potatoes for breakfast.
oh, so
Uh,
good.
I I tell you, that's the one thing. Like Thanksgiving Day itself was kind of. I mean, it was great. It was awesome. It was just
Yeah.
me and my wife and the
Yeah.
pups, and it was fantastic. But I literally spent all day cooking. Like I started at like
Yeah.
10 and didn't get done till like, I mean, when because we ate and then I made dessert after that, so I didn't really get done until like 6. And I'm like, ugh. And I was just like, I was on my feet. I was sore. I was like, it's like,
Yeah.
why is this fun?
Yeah.
Um, but then I
I
realized today that this is why it's fun, is because now I get to eat sweet potatoes for breakfast for the
it's the
next like couple of
leftovers that
days.
matter. Yeah. It's true. It's truly the leftovers that matter.
Yeah.
Um. So what time? So you said you had dinner at 6.
No. We ate at 3.
You ate at 3.
We ate at 3, and then we digested a little bit, and then I made by the
Then you had
time
dessert.
like
Okay.
yeah, by the time dessert was done, it was like 6. So then we had
Yeah.
we had dessert later.
It's a little strange to me that. So yeah, that's something I always did. Is like, yeah, Thanksgiving dinner is like mid afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Um. And this year my partner came over and he's not used to, he doesn't usually do Thanksgiving,
Oh, uh-huh.
and he was like, no, we should just eat at normal dinner time.
Like, no,
And
that's
I was
not how it
like,
works.
excuse me, what? Then what do we do all day? He's a wait to cook.
Yeah, you
Can't get
gotta.
started now.
Yeah, it's like if we eat at the regular dinner time, when am I supposed to nap before I eat again? Like
And
that
then go
doesn't,
back to sleep
and then go back
again.
to sleep. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you don't know, like if you don't experience Thanksgiving, you don't understand that there's a process to
Yeah.
things, which is
There's a
fine.
whole thing.
uh yeah, I made chicken, and it
Oh,
didn't come out right. Like I had to keep it in the oven for much longer. uh
yeah.
uh Oh, your family eats Thanksgiving at normal dinner time. Kit. Oh, hello, Kit. Thank you for joining us
Hello,
this morning.
Kit.
And you know what? If your family eats at normal dinner time, good on them.
Good
Uh,
on
uh,
I think. Well, and I started wondering because I realized I had like never questioned it before either. I was like 3 o'clock. Yeah, that's the right holiday dinner time.
yeah.
But I wonder now if it has to do with uh either. I have two guesses. One is that it's either has to do with football or it has to do with like back in the day people had to get back home before the sun went down or before snowfall or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a Thanksgiving scholar. If we could maybe next year we plan it out a little bit more and see if we can get like a Thanksgiving historical
dig up
uh,
some news.
expert.
Dig up some facts about it. Yeah.
Dig up some facts, yeah.
Well,
Because my
yeah.
family, we would eat late in the day.
Yeah.
We would do the midday. We would do the midday feasting,
Yeah.
and then we would go, and yeah, I mean, my dad and my grandpa would go and watch football and promptly both fall asleep in front of the television, and yeah, the rest of us
Makes
just
sense.
kind of would play cards, or we played we would play Uno.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, and we would do that, and then after we played a couple rousing games of Uno, we would go eat some more. Yeah. Before the pandemic, we were lazy and just went to Golden Corral. Hey, no shame in that. No shame in that. Like if there's a restaurant that's open and you go and enjoy yourself, then by all means. Eating early is a tradition because it left the pilgrims enough time to go. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if we want to talk about Thanksgiving facts, it turns out that obvious, like, most of us, I think, at this point are aware that Thanksgiving as a holiday is
garbage. It's garbage.
It's a sham, right? But it turns out that the historical account of it was like the original journal entry was like, here's what happened this day, and then somebody, like, many years later was like, let me just change one paragraph. So it's incredibly, like, it's absolutely
just fabricated.
Completely fabricated.
Yeah. I very rarely call it Thanksgiving. I always just call it Turkey Day. Just because it's the day that I usually eat turkey, but the last couple of years I've eaten chicken.
Good for you. Sticking it to me, man.
Well, my issue is we have these wild turkeys that roam around my neighborhood, and I'm afraid that if I cook a turkey in my house, they're going to smell it and then they're going to come vengeance for me. And I'm like, I don't want beef. I don't want beef with my turkey neighbors. So I'm like, here, look, I'm eating chicken.
Insane.
They're nuts, and the other day we saw like 14 of them. Just walking. There's like a herd of turkeys that live in my neighborhood. And it's terrifying.
Yeah. It's and so did you know that turkey is indigenous to America and the Americas. And it was originally suggested that be our national bird.
Yeah. And honestly, it fits better.
It fits better
because we're awkward and angry people, and and people like to that make idiots of ourselves. So I mean, the turkey would probably be a more fitting national bird for us anyway. Ben Franklin wanted that.
Old Benny boy.
We do, and we gobble all the time. I didn't know turkeys could fly either, mainly because I get most of my knowledge of that from that WKRP episode where they throw the turkeys, but they just can't fly from like heights. Like they can fly for short bursts, but they're not like
they're sprinters, not marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think, and so like here's my take on the holiday. It's odd. It's an odd feeling because I have made a decision for myself of like, okay, I don't want to really celebrate Thanksgiving anymore. And now it feels sort of weird to talk about it with other people, and they're being like, oh yeah, Thanksgiving, we had all this food and it was great, and I'm like, but it's Thanksgiving and it's bad. And so, I think it's important to, like, for me, I've decided to just make it a focus on like, so November is Native American Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And
on the Google Calendar, today is actually Native American Heritage Day.
Yeah.
Which honestly, they should just do both days. They should just move it up and do,
Native American Heritage long weekend.
Yeah. Or,
and I think it's a good idea. So most of the food that people traditionally serve at Thanksgiving is like our foods that are like indigenous to the Americas. And I think that's I think that's cool. I think that that's something that we can latch onto a little bit, and like trying to eat things that are indigenous to the Americas, and that, like, you know, we do have, because they were cultivated by indigenous peoples. And like just like until Native American people decide what they want to do with this holiday, because it's their choice, right?
Right.
Like, we should take it. My opinion is that we should take it as a day to like appreciate indigenous foods, and like educate ourselves about indigenous peoples, and like know what land you're on, and
Yeah.
you know, just be thoughtful about it.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
I found, and you know what, like, I found so many amazing people on TikTok. There's one guy, I'll have to look up, we can post this later, I'll have to look up his handle.
Yeah.
But he does this series of like, if all of these like famous like horror movie characters came to the reservation, and so it's like Michael Myers like trying to walk in the door, and the guy's like, hey, you don't want to go in there, my grandma's gonna smack you with her moccasin. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Share that. I would like to take a look at that. That sounds entertaining. I'm enjoying today. Today is my first official day, like gearing up towards the next holiday in December, and I'm celebrating that by having eggnog in my coffee for the first time.
Oh wow! Yeah, how does that feel? How are we feeling?
It's amazing. And I'm drinking out of this new mug here that my friend Kelly got me. It says Papa Bear. And and it's like huge. Like, this is my hand.
That's a good.
This is a good mug. Yeah, it comes with a little straw. And yeah, I drank cider out of it yesterday. Drank iced cider, which is so good. And then today is iced coffee.
New England of you, I guess.
Yeah, I've gone full New England. Yeah, unfortunately.
we like our coffee and our cider iced.
Yeah, especially in the colder months.
Yeah. Yep.
I very rarely drink but I can't drink hot things through a straw. I learned that at a very young age. I tried to drink some hot chocolate out of a straw, and I burned the hell out of my mouth.
Yeah. My mom does. She'll drink her coffee out of one of those tiny little sippy coffee straws.
Strophy?
A strophy, if you will.
A strophy? A coffee straw?
Trademark that. And because she was doing it because she was like, well, if I sip through the straw, it won't go on my teeth, and then my teeth won't get stained. But every time I've drinking anything hot out of a straw is, like you said, it's dangerous.
It's just
I understand the logic, but I'm not getting on board.
I'm not getting on board with it. No, I agree. I could not agree more. Did you have any what was your favorite dish that you consumed yesterday?
Oh, okay. So it was pretty good. We had a flank steak.
Ooh.
Right? Flank steak? Yeah, flank steak. And I accidentally called it a skirt steak yesterday, and now I've been second guessing myself about which one I had.
I mean, you don't want to do that. You'll get the steak people on you.
We'll offend all of the steak people.
Our steak viewers.
Yeah. Well, we can't go in a single up. We have to alienate someone.
Right.
At least.
So today we've chosen to alienate steak eaters.
Steak lovers. So if you're vegetarian,
you're cool.
You're cool. Come on in. So the steak was pretty good. And then I made ginger snap cookies.
Look at you.
Yeah. It was a little weird because it was just me and my partner, and so I didn't want to have like too much food, right? And he's not interested in sweet potatoes or pumpkin pie.
Dump him. Sorry, I'll say it. Dump his ass. If he doesn't like sweet potatoes or pumpkin pie, he's not worth your time.
I'll make a note.
Yeah, sorry. He's probably watching, and he's like, note to self.
No, he's never seen
beat
the
up
show.
Matt. He's never and he doesn't watch your show again.
He doesn't watch my show.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. We're gonna put a poll in the chat. Should Chloe kick her partner to the curb?
Yeah. Oh, I love the drama.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna take this to him. He's so and he was so. We had such a good day yesterday. And then I'm just gonna come up to him and be like, "The people think this should be over."
So I do what the people want. You're a person of the people.
I just a slave to my audience. But anyway, so I had to come up with something else for dinner, and I couldn't find a gluten-free, because I thought about this too last minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't find a gluten-free pie crust. I'm sure that they were all out. Although Star Market rearranged all their stuff, and I don't know where to find anything. I was a little upset with them. So I made ginger snap cookies.
Yeah.
And then I got some ice cream from Trader Joe's. And that was the dessert. And the ginger snaps came out amazing. I was very pleased with myself.
I made a dessert that was all gluten. I made a brioche bread pudding that's just gluten on gluten, and it was so good.
Amazing.
It was really good. But we also did a stuffing with that Impossible sausage. We made stuffing, and then we mixed in that Impossible sausage, and it was amazing. It was so good. It was so good. All right, we could talk about this for days, I think, but we need to bring on our first guest.
Yes.
Absolutely. Very, very funny person. Please welcome to the show, Malt Schlitzmann. Malt, hello.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. What an
I feel like you
entrance.
should have turned around in your chair.
I feel like we've been swashbuckled.
I would never.
I've suddenly lost control of the show. I don't know.
I don't believe that. It's very...
I can't imagine where you would have picked up any kind of piratical theme or anything.
I do love that unicorn flag behind you.
Oh, thank you. I have no idea where it came from. I got it from a Yankee swap a decade ago.
I love Yankee
amazing.
swaps so much. That's where I got that Mickey Mouse phone. At a Yankee swap.
Oh my!
Does anyone else see? I have to ask: is there a man behind you?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've never. People ask me that all the time, and I look, and there's nothing there. I just no. I have a. So this is a lamp. This is a lamp that doesn't work. Yeah. And I was like, I could just have a lamp that doesn't work behind me, or I could put the things that I have in my house on this lamp and make sort of a a friend or this was during the pandemic, so it was I was really starved for human interaction, or just sort of a someone that watches over me.
Yeah, that's your guardian luchador.
My guardian luchador spirit. Yes.
I also there's a website that sells COVID safe luchador face masks.
Stop it.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, grocery store. It's a whole other level now.
Oh, that's amazing. What website is that?
It's like Mr. Mask Man. It's one of the few websites selling legit luchador masks.
The most perfect name for a website.
Mr. Maskman, you have given before the show chat and this and us just talking for a couple minutes here, you have already given me two amazing websites that I'm going to spend so much money on.
Yeah,
my wife doesn't even know that this is what she's getting for Christmas now.
The dealing with the pandemic stress and also a baby. I definitely got a little heavy into online shopping I wanted to buy incense and an incense burner. And so if you want that, your best bet is a Catholic liturgical supplies catalog.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, yeah. No, that makes
Yeah.
sense because they have all the candles and all that.
And they've also got drip. Look at these outfits.
Oh, yeah.
Rock into the club looking
my
like
gosh.
salvation itself.
Oh man, what a great outfit to wear, like
That's so good.
just to anywhere. You know, you want to make a statement.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want statement pieces, they got some that have pictures of the dude on them in case you forgot what
Wait,
religion
is that-
of church you're in.
Oh man, I was hoping that. I thought that one had a thumbs up. I was really hoping it was.
It was
Jesus.
Buddy Christ. Oh
Yeah,
man,
Buddy
Buddy Christ
Christ.
one would be a Buddy Christ one would be awesome.
That's how you know that you found the cool priest. I had actually, I don't remember if I told you about Matt. I don't remember if I've talked about this before, but when I was in Colorado for my grandma's funeral a while ago, the guy who was giving the sermon was named Buddy. He's a Catholic priest, and he was like,
His name was
"My
Buddy.
name is Buddy."
What a great
And he was like,
what a great
"You
name.
guys can call me or my wife anytime." I was like, "Thanks, buddy."
What,
Buddy
you got his number?
Priest,
Let's call him
Priest.
right now. Let's call him right now on the show. He said anytime.
I'm so sorry. I did not write it down. I didn't think I would need it, and I realize now I'm a fool.
I have some theological questions I would like resolved.
Hey, buddy.
Can I call you buddy?
Can I call you buddy? Or do you prefer
Reverend Buddy?
Father Buddy?
Daddy
That's-
buddy?
Daddy Buddy?
Nope,
No.
that's not the
No,
one.
Daddy Buddy? I don't know.
I feel so weird. So, I don't know when it happened, but the shift, like some point when I was growing up, the shift between, like, calling adults by, what is it, a formal title? Like, you know, Mr. Sontag, and then, like, there became this shift of where everyone is like, call me by my first name. And it still makes me uncomfortable. I don't.
Oh, I called
Yep.
my teachers. I called my teachers. Honestly, I think if I ran into one of my old high school teachers, I would still refer to them as
Yeah.
Mr. or Mrs. or Miss. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. Nah, that doesn't change.
100%. Yeah.
I don't even know.
Well, my
I
mom
don't
was a
even know their
teacher.
First names.
That's the thing, and that's the other thing. It's like I don't know that I would know their first name.
Yeah,
know their
because
first
even
names.
like, I visited a classroom once with some like younger kids, and the teacher instructed them to call me Miss Chloe, and I
Yeah.
was like, what? Like,
Wasn't
I'm
Miss
cool with
Chloe
it.
the psychic that did the psychic thing?
Call me now.
Well, with the last name of Fear, my last name's Fear, and like I would go in. I know, it's a great.
Malt into that,
only
yeah.
second to your last name, Malt. I love.
Mom, I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna change your world. You can change your last name to whatever you want it to be.
Oh, I
You
know.
that, right?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay.
I must tell you, Malt Schlitzmann is a stage name. It's a pun on Walt Whitman and like Schlitz malt liquor.
Right. You know what? I was wondering that. I was like, this seems like it's too perfect. Like it's too like
No
because
one's
Malt and
parents are that
Schlitz
cool.
go together. But as I said, my actual like legal last name is Fear. So it's like, who am I to say whose last name is a stage name or an actual name?
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually let people, especially if I'm teaching or whatever, I let them call me, like if they have to call me Mr. something, I have them call me Mr. Matt. Just because I'm like, I'd rather have them call me Mr. Matt than Mr. Fear.
Mr.
I
Fear
would-
is like such a comic book villain.
I would
Yeah.
lean into that. Like, I would dress up like Sven Gulli. I would have like a lantern, busting. Hello, children. Do you have the answer? Where's your homework?
Yeah. Yeah. It turns out I'm already like towering above them, and I'm a bigger guy that's a little bit, verbose. So I already scare them. So
Yeah.
yes, I have thought about getting my doctorate and being Dr. Fear, but then I figure I've gone full supervillain, and then
Yeah.
I feel
That's
like
your
it's my
origin
legal
story is
opportunity.
You went to grad school.
Yeah, it's my legal obligation to move into a hollowed out volcano.
Yeah.
And I don't like.
What about Reverend Fear?
Oh,
Well, I am
no.
technically a reverend. I have been ordained by on the internet.
The Universal Life Church?
Yes.
Love those
Yep.
cats.
I did that so I could marry. So I could what do they call officiate. The wedding of some friends of mine. But then I got I also became a Dudist priest, the Church of the Latter Day Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reverend Fear is.
I think it's the best one.
Yeah.
Because that could be a supervillain or a superhero. It could go either
Father Fear.
way. No.
Well, I'm getting ready to become a dad, so I mean,
That's
I
what your
will
kid
be-
has to call you.
Yeah. That's why I think I'll just go for Papa Fear. I think Papa Fear is a nice kind of,
It's oddly like I
Father
think it
fear
must just be
equals
like
daddy
the
issues,
rhythm of it for some reason is very comforting, even though it's like the word fear, like Papa Fear.
Papa Fear. Yeah,
It's just more pleasant.
yeah.
It's less intense than Papaphobia.
Yeah.
Which is
I have a
fear,
Papa
folks.
Fear. I cannot read Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It freaks me out. Anytime that there's a Papa in
Oh,
there, I can't listen to the song Tradition from Fiddler. It's just anytime the word Papa is used, I get,
Real quick, I want to. We were talking about last names. I have a friend of a friend who changed their last name to Explosion. And then when she got married, her husband took her last name.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Why would
Badass.
Her name is Caitlin Explosion.
Caitlin Explosion. Can we get them on the show? Like, I would love to have the Explosion family
You know what? Yeah.
on the show.
I will reach out. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
You got to wonder, is that family going to be nuclear?
I'm so mad I didn't think about that myself.
That's why Malt's the comic. I mean, that's why
true.
it's
That's true.
I mean, that's why we bring them on the show. So Malt, tell us about we've just been just jawing, and I love that, and we still will. But let's talk about what you do. You have a show called the Dirty Gerund Poetry Show. Which is an amazing. Speaking of amazing names, that's a great name. Tell us about that show.
So 8 years ago, one of the best writers in Worcester, Rochelle Fraser, started a reading at Ralph's on Monday nights. It was taken over a few years later by Alex Harlem-Beatties and Nicholas Earl Davis, who basically ran it up until the pandemic. And now it's run by Narc Lazard, one of Worcester's
An amazing
best.
name. Is that a stage name or is that
That
an
is the
actual-
stage name.
Narc Lazard. I love that.
Yeah. She's a
Not
total
Lizard, it's
badass.
Lizard.
One of they were on our FemSlam team a few years running, and so it's been tricky getting it running again. Like beforehand, we had a full band. We had like featured guests from all over the country.
Wow.
Someone brought snacks every week. So we've lost our snack time queen. They've moved on. We are soliciting more talent for folks who want to come and perform. Like if
And
you're a
maybe
poet,
bring snacks.
yeah. So if you're a poet, if you are a comedian, writer, performer, musician, there's I'll put it up on my Twitter feed, but there's a Google Docs you can form you can fill out if you want to perform. We also on occasion have a featured artist where someone comes in with their art supplies to create a work of genius live in conversation with the show, which gets auctioned off at the end.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It's a very friendly, welcoming space. It's trans affirming. There's no room for like bigotry or that kind of nonsense. And so if you're in central Massachusetts, or you can make the trek out to Worcester, it's at Ralph's Diner every Monday, 8:30 ish.
It's not that far of a drive from the Boston area. It's only maybe about 45 minutes, right? Like it's
right off the interstate too.
Yeah. I mean, driving around, as I was saying before the show, driving around Worcester is its own kind of hell.
There's some risks associated with that.
But honestly, I think that would be if you want to get we should get a little caravan together and go out there. I would love to see that show. That would be fantastic. I'm not much of a poet myself, but I enjoy a good poem.
Oh, good.
It is like, if it's open to comedians as well. It's the poetry show, but it's an open mic. So I will definitely get a hold of Narc and see if maybe we can even book you guys to perform.
Oh, I'm not a comedian, thank you. I'm an improviser. It's very different. What? What?
Don't blow our shot.
I thought you were supposed to say yes and.
Oh,
yes and.
Yeah, yes and.
You're doing bad at improv, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I haven't done improv in a bit, Malt. It's with the whole. I mean, that's not true. I've been doing. We've been doing Zoom stuff over the pandemic, and I've actually started doing some live shows again, which has been honestly, man. There's nothing like getting back up in front of people and doing your stuff again. It's. Have you done any live shows since things have kind of started to calm?
So I was doing poetry pretty consistently before the pandemic, but something changed during the pandemic, and now I'm not really interested in poetry. I'm almost exclusively doing stand-up comedy.
Nice.
Which
in and of itself is its own type of poetry.
It really is. I feel like I did well cutting my teeth on poetry, because now I can make the jokes short.
I mean, that's what I love about improv. I think improv helps you like do the crowd work and things like that. When you have to deal with the inevitable heckler or someone that decides to come to a show and be like, I'm going to make myself the middle of this show.
That's something that like I'm always impressed when people can, because like I've obviously done a ton of improv. I still don't know how to deal with humans in real life. I like anytime there's a situation where somebody is like weird or rude to me, like when I tell the story, it's very like, this crazy person, and I was like, what is your deal? But I didn't say any of that out loud. In person, I was just like,
Don't stab me. Don't stab me.
Please don't stab me. Please don't stab
Bye.
me. I say that pretty much in my head constantly whenever I go out into public. Is just a constant, please don't stab me. Please don't stab me.
And, they don't always make it easy. Like sometimes.
They don't.
Yeah. So comedy is nice.
Oh, good.
Like making people laugh. I lost potential parent. One thing other parents told me is that you forget the early days. What I did not realize is that this means that there is a year's gap in my memory where I remember nothing. Like the last solid memory I have is door knocking for Bernie Sanders.
That was a bit of...
It was. And now something happened and the air is potentially lethal. Like you can go into a grocery store and breathe wrong and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Because I imagine that just like that first year of parenting, it's you're just living in the moment, like constantly. Because you
I
like,
wonder-
in my opinion, like I don't know,
Yeah.
this is kind of how I view it. Like I would be just in constant state of, am I able to keep this human alive? Like because I have to keep this human alive. It is my responsibility.
I have this idea of myself of like, oh, like I'm like a wise person. I'm super chill. I'm gonna be like a really chill parent, and then I find myself like afraid to leave my dog at home too long because he might die before I come back, and it's like I don't know. I feel like having a baby is gonna be a little bit. I'm not gonna be chill at all.
It is definitely a situation that induces a state of unchill. You can definitely say that.
Yeah, and I just it like I'm terrified. Like I'm excited to raise a human, but at the same time I am just like unbelievably terrified.
Yeah, it's probably best that you forget that first year because it's good. It's probably not the best time.
Right.
Yeah. I really think that society needs to like uplift and elevate and make appealing the status of the part-time parent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people who are like, they're sitting in like their very well appointed like apartment with, the white fur everything, and they're wearing a white turtleneck, drinking red wine, and like, what would really make this night complete? Like, oh, what is that? A little baby. Yes, quite.
Child.
And then like the people who spend an hour around a child are like, no, never, not ever for me.
Right.
Like we need substitute parents. Like we have substitute teachers.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, yeah. Honestly, I would love to have like and I don't know that I'm going to be able to afford this, but like having like an au pair or a
governess,
a nanny or somebody that comes in and like hangs out with the kid when I'm not around, and someone that can give my kid a different perspective on things, and so they're constantly learning. We follow this nanny on TikTok that is just is fit. Her stories that she talks about these is she nannies a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, and she just talks about how the two of them just obliterate her all the time. They're just constantly like making little snide comments to her, but they love you. Like she's like, I love these kids. I would take a bullet for these kids 100%, but they destroy me on a daily basis. And just hearing those stories is fantastic. And somebody made a comment about how, why would people who have kids, why don't they want to spend time with their kids? Why would they get a nanny to spend time with their kids? And she ripped into them, and it was amazing.
Yeah. It's
exhausting.
Yeah.
Kids take so much energy. And there's an article that came out recently that my friend Lucy like retweeted, and we were talking a little bit back and forth about it, of like, I don't know what all countries, but like America in particular seems to be like almost hostile towards children. Like public spaces are not built for kids. Like if you take a kid on an airplane, everybody's like, oh no, there's a child here. And like I honestly like it sucks because like it does take a village, and like everyone should be aware and helping out, and like people don't understand that children are just small humans who like are trying to figure out what's going on around them. Like of course they're acting weird. They don't know what they're supposed to do. Like there's all this new stuff. They're overwhelmed. they're trying to process it the best way they can. They're little humans, and like,
and everything's bigger than they are.
yeah,
Everything's bigger than they are.
they like, and you know, you like, people look at people weird if you take your kid to the grocery store, and then if a kid is like crying in public, to me, I'm like, oh God, that poor parent, like that's got to be a rough time. And you know, you'll see all this stuff of like, they shouldn't bring those kids out unless they're gonna behave. It's like, they're children.
Yeah.
If they don't get out here now and learn this now, they're gonna be much weirder later.
You're going to have people afraid of grocery stores. Like,
Yeah.
I understand that. It's too much for me sometimes.
Yeah. Depending on the grocery store,
pizza.
I mean, there's a Star Market in Porter Square that I've walked into a couple of times, and literally you walk in and then you have to walk through the whole store to get out. Like, you can't just turn around and walk back out. It's a one-way automatic door, and you have to walk all the way past the cash registers to get to the exit door. And I walked in for it was Halloween. I walked in to see if there was any discount candy. And there was a huge group, like a huge line of people that were evidently doing the same thing I was. And I walked in and I was like, oh no, I don't want to be in here right now. And I couldn't just turn around and walk out. I had to walk through aisles and be like, oh God, okay, I'm just going to go. It was terrifying. Yeah, it was terrifying. But I mean, yeah, you've got to take your kids places, or else they're not going to want to go places when they're adults.
Yeah.
The whole expecting parents to provide an entire plane with like ear plugs and candy is ridiculous.
Our upstairs neighbors just had a baby. Then they brought us a baby survival kit. It was very nice of them. They brought us earplugs and some alcohol. They brought us some cider and some bourbon, I believe. It was like so nice. But I'm like, you just had a kid. We should be giving you things. What are you doing? Like, this is really nice, but like, oh God, this is messed up.
Yeah.
It's like such a shock going from like working and traveling in foreign countries where it's like, go interact with that strange foreign adult male. It's like, I'm sure you're not going to get sold for parts. And then it's like America, where I have to sometimes assure other people at the park that I'm not abducting a random child.
Like, this is, in fact, my child. See, we have matching tattoos.
I couldn't sell my wife on the idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it just kind of came to me, and I'm hoping that I can talk my wife into it.
Young Pete from Pete and Pete had the mermaid, and it worked out so well for him.
Oh yes, every time I remember that show, I just get this beautiful wave of nostalgia. Because it was so weird.
I came in. I was just a little too old when that show came out. Like, I was first gen Nickelodeon. So like Pinwheel and You Can't Do That on Television. And then once it started doing like Salute Your Shorts and Pete and Pete and that kind of thing, I was like, nah, I was too old for that.
We're done here.
Too old for that nonsense.
Salute Your Shorts, honestly, some of the most accurate media about working and living at a summer camp.
Did you ever do camp work? Did you ever work at a summer camp? Me too.
Yep.
That's where I met my wife at a.
Nice.
We were working at a summer camp together. Yeah. What camp was it?
I don't want to name it. It was a scout camp in.
Oh, it was a scout camp.
Yeah, the Finger Lakes region.
Okay.
The owner was a health department guy, and we were the only summer camp that managed to reopen one summer after 2 devastating bouts of norovirus.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do a whole show just talking about some, because I did 2 summers at a camp in upstate New York. Not upstate New York. It was a southern part of the Catskills. So not upstate at all. It was about an hour and a half outside New York City, like in the wilderness that is the rest of New York State.
Everything north of White Plains might as well be Antarctica.
I mean, honestly, it really, it really was. It was like we were in the middle of nowhere. It was a beautiful camp. It's gotten some bad. It got some bad press as of late. So I too don't necessarily want to mention the name of the camp, but the 2 summers I spent there were fantastic. I had a great time, but I was more like upper staff. My wife spent 1 summer there, and she hated it. She was a counselor. She worked with the kids and absolutely hated it. I was the theater director, so I got to do the fun stuff. Job. And then not have to watch them in their bunks. I slept in the bunk with I slept in one of the bunks, but there were counselors in the bunk, and I got to go in and say, "Shut the hell up" if they were being loud, because they were all older guys.
Did they call you Mr. Fear?
No, they called me Captain. They referred to me as the Captain. That was my nickname from the start of things. Thanks to a dear friend of mine who sent me to camp with a care package, and one of the things in that care package was a name tag that said, "My name is Matt, but you can call me Captain." And I wore that to one of the first staff meetings that we had, and for the rest of the summer and the summer after, I was referred to as the Captain. In fact, up till recently, if I called my wife's phone, it would show up on my wife's phone as the Captain.
That's love.
I mean,
it's beautiful.
It is. Malt, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so glad that we got to connect and get you on the show and touch base. I cannot, I really want to come and see this show in Worcester. So every Monday.
Yep.
What time?
The list goes out around 8:30ish. We're trying to get started by 9. Usually pretty punctual, but I mean it's a dive bar. It has a certain vibe, and timeliness is not included amongst it.
Right.
Timeliness is overrated. It's fine.
So we're gonna get a little caravan to head out to Ralph's in Worcester on a Monday night if you're into that.
So you have to get you got to get there a little early to sign up, or are they you sign up before the show?
You can get there a little early to make sure you get a spot, but if you show up late, unless the list has been super packed, we're usually pretty good about getting people on there.
Oh, dope. Okay.
Very cool. All right. Well, Malt, thank you so much for coming on the show, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Be well.
Be well. Take care.
Bye.
Oh man.
What a delight.
What a delight. And that does sound like a cool show. I do want to go check that show out at some point.
I miss poetry. You know what? Actually,
I just miss open mics. Going and sitting and watching an open mic is fun.
Maybe I'll do my email bit. Were you there for that kerfuffle when I did the dramatic reading of the email?
I don't know that I was. Now, for those of you that are watching that don't know what the kerfuffle is, it's a show that basically you get a certain amount of time and you just submit a title. You don't submit a what your bit is. You just submit a title for your bit and how much time you need, and then it's all based on a theme. And then they basically blind book it based on your title. And
so anything can happen.
And anything has happened.
It's for the most part, it is incredible. Every once in a while, I see something that maybe didn't need to be in my brain. For instance, Meatloaf playing Meatloaf on Meatloaf. These people came in as a Meatloaf cover band, and they were playing on. They had made a bunch of Meatloaf, and those were their instruments.
Yeah.
I think it would have been funnier if the whole theater didn't smell like meatloaf.
Yeah, then the whole. No, I remember that. Then the whole place smelled like meatloaf. I was actually working at the theater that night when that happened, and I was like, what is that stench? And they're like, oh, it's meatloaf, and I'm like, gross. They so many things have happened with that show. I still to this day don't think our dear friend Ben can drink eggnog because of an issue that happened during a kerfuffle bit. So
what a great that's such a great show. But so the bit, one of the bits that I've done on the kerfuffle is I a long time ago I was dating this guy who was not very good at letting things go. And we were both grumpy. And we got into an argument. He goes, what's the definition of the word? He asked me for the definition of the word gregarious.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him a perfectly good and workable definition. And then he goes, I don't think that's nuanced enough. And proceeds to Google it in front of me.
Well, I'm glad you're not dating that person anymore.
No. Nope.
No.
No. Although he did start like hitting me up again recently. I was like, what do you
back off?
think is gonna no. Anyway.
Oh, I do want to say, Malt, if you're still watching, email me that link for the sign up form, and I will post it in the chat. Unfortunately, we've got it so where people in the chat can't post links. Maybe I'll change that. I don't know. I put that in there. But yeah, shoot me an email and I'll put it in. Well, he's not in the backstage. They're not in the backstage anymore.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if you could just email that to me, that would be fantastic, and I'll actually put it in the chat as soon as I get it. Yeah.
So this guy, we got into this argument, and then I was like, "This is stupid. We're arguing about a word. This is dumb. Let's stop this." And he said, "Okay." And then 3 hours later, I received a pages-long email talking about how our whole argument. All of the logical fallacies I had used in my argument and how it reflected poorly on me.
Oh, man.
And it's like, it's the most perfect, it's like, if it had been written, every word was genuine and serious, but like, it's also the most perfect satire email. Like if somebody had written it as satire, they would be a genius. It's incredible. And so I presented it as like a TED Talk.
That's awesome.
I read the email and then I added PowerPoint slides.
You know what? I do think I saw that. I do think I was there for that. I do think
definitions of some of the words that he used in the email. And like the most rewarding part of the show for me, it was like completely quiet in the audience, and some guy in the back goes, "Oh my God."
Yeah, it's very satisfying. Very satisfying. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's we've got our second guest waiting patiently in the green room. Luckily for us, our green room is very cozy. So cozy that people just decide to live there. So let's bring out our next guest, Aimée Lutkin. Aimée, hello, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Oh, I can't hear you now that I'm talking. Okay, there you are.
Oh, are we back? Are we okay?
Thank you for having me. I'm in my dad's basement. Can you see me and hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we can. And honestly, I would like it looks very rustic where you are. Like it looks like a very cozy dad's basement.
What?
Oh, can you hear?
Because I'm in the basement, I guess I'm having a little connection issue. Okay, no, now it's working.
Can you hear us now?
Perfectly fine. I was listening to you guys talking. It was very relaxing. I was like vibing, and then as soon as I signed in, it just fell apart.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Sometimes it takes a second for your computer to be like, oh, okay, we're both talking and listening now.
I don't know. I guess my computer was stage shy or something.
I was just saying how cozy that basement looks. How it looks like a very cozy.
It is. It's really cozy. I kind of almost want to give you a tour because it's so cute, but I'm sure my internet will object to that. But it's like a little lounge. This is a full-on bar. Like I'm seated in front of the bar, so sometimes my dad will come down and like make me a cocktail. He used to be a bartender.
I can actually see a little bit of it in the mirror behind you on the other side there. There's that little mirror. And I can see just a little bit of I was like, oh, yeah. I tell you what, there's nothing better than a cozy basement. My basement now.
It's a little hidey hole.
Yeah, the basement I have currently where I live is a murder basement. Like it is a. I heard my wife say it.
Do you commit murder down there?
It is like I don't commit murder down there, but every time I go down there, I feel like there could be somebody down there waiting to murder me.
And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I'm sorry. I know I live here, but feel free, continue. In the back corner of the basement, there is a room that is locked from the outside. That there's like it's just a little like almost like a closet, but it was a closet that was built after the basement, so like you can. It's just like in a corner, and we were starting to clean out the basement, and we went in there, and it's just a bunch of old Christmas decorations from my wife's grandmother.
So not old bones or anything like that.
Luckily, we did not find bones or animal parts or anything like that. But I was really nervous going into it, being like, this could get ugly.
Is the best case scenario. Uh-oh.
Sorry, that was my alarm. I wake up to that alarm. Is that horrible? It just went off. It was reminding me to come to this. So
here we are. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us. Now you have a book coming out in like 2 months, right?
Yeah, it's coming out on February 8th. And it's, I haven't really talked about it that much outside with people who don't know anything about it. So it's kind of exciting to try and do that now and see how it goes.
Yeah, well, feel free. Use us as your test subjects here. Tell us about this book. It's called The Lonely Hunter, or How Our Search for Love is Broken.
Yes, it's part memoir, it's part research reporting. And it's basically, I sold it many years ago, like pre-COVID, and now everybody's like, oh, it's so timely. But in a way, a lot of the book is like about dating and relationships. And I think COVID kind of put the kibosh on a lot of those things for a while. So it felt very different to me. But there is some stuff about that period at the end of the book. But it just sort of starts with a story about something that happened to me many years ago where I was like kind of at a place in my life where I hadn't dated anybody in like 6 years. And I kind of was feeling like that was never going to be a part of my life again. Which is, a downer, but it feels like you should be able to talk about those things with people who are close to you. And I was at a dinner party and someone asked me about my dating life. And I was just like, I don't think I'm going to be dating anybody ever again. And they were just like rejected that as a premise and like wouldn't entertain it at all. And I began to get very upset, but more because I felt like I can't talk about my experience. Like I can only act like I'm waiting for a different experience in the future that may or may not come. And I have to continue to pursue it. So the book just sort of became an exploration of why we're like so afraid of loneliness, so afraid to admit so many people are single, because there are like an enormous number of single people now. If you've read all the Single Ladies by Rebecca Traister, it's like basically about how for the first time ever, the census in 2009, I think, or 10, announced that for the first time ever, it was more single women than coupled women. So it's like actually very normal, but there's not like language or space to talk about these issues yet.
Interesting. Yeah. And like as far as this conversation went with the person that you were like telling all this to, like did they finally come around, or were you just like, did you just have to be like,
I was just like, let's talk about something else. Yeah. That's basically what happened. But I'm a blogger, so I write for a lot of different publications, and a few months later, like they were like, do you want to write an end of the year post? You can write about whatever you want. I sort of wrote about this experience and about how like there's no language, and like a lot of people responded to me. And some of them were really supportive. Some of them are like my friends and were just like, oh, just put yourself out there, blah, blah. And then there are a lot of people who are like, I have the exact same experience. I'm lonely. I've been lonely for a really long time. I don't see it like magically repairing itself, etc.
Yeah.
And I kind of responded to it afterwards by like, okay, everyone's telling me I need to just put myself out there and date, and I'll find love. It's inevitable. We're all owed it. It's destiny, whatever. And I made a really concerted effort to go out and date and meet somebody. And in the book, it explains that like I made like a goal for myself. I was like, I'll go on 2 dates a week, every single week, no matter what. I'm gonna go. And I got really good at first dates. Like I think I was really good at dating. And I eventually met somebody who I fell in love with, and it didn't work out. And I was just sort of like saying that like often we're pushed towards couplehood as a solution to loneliness, when a lot of the issues that make people lonely or isolated have a lot more to do with a lack of support in our lives. Like it's even married people, of course, are lonely. It's like very normalized, but we're told as long as we have a partner, that should fill in all the gaps. But there are a lot of things isolating people right now.
Yeah. And I love this so much because this is something that I have been thinking about and looking at, and like we are really geared towards coupledom. And you know, my parents got together like a little bit later in life, so they've been like, there's been like a little bit less pressure generally, but like after I turned 30, like on my 30th birthday, my mom was like, you need a man for your birthday. And I was like, okay.
Did she have
one? Yeah. And
she had this gigantic wrap box
shaped like a man.
Shaped,
what a dream.
Yeah, it was man, standing.
Yeah. And I, you know, we're so relationship centered, and there's been this implication of like, I recently had a conversation with her where I really had to explain and like stand my ground and be like, hey, like I've done all this work. I went to so much therapy. I've created a good life, peace for myself. I have a good supportive community. I'm not going to bring someone in unless they add to that. Yeah. Like, and I want to have a kid someday. I don't want to have a kid with somebody who is A, not going to help me, or B, going to actively do damage. And like, so, you know, for me, I'm like, if I don't find somebody that wants to have a kid with me, like I will do it on my own. Like I will have friends who will support me and help me out, but I'll like have this kid for myself. And it's so hard for people to wrap their heads around a different format of life, right? And like, and it's because it's so focused on like, you have to have your life partner, you have to be a couple. And to me that feels dangerous, because like if you put all of your emotional needs onto one person, everyone's going to be exhausted.
Absolutely. It's dangerous. And it's also, I don't think people realize how relatively recent this development of like putting everything on your married partner is. It's like not actually the most common form of couplehood in history at all. It's only in like the last like 100 years or so, there are these dynamics that changed that began to put this emphasis of love and couplehood in marriage. Whereas it used to be sort of more about uniting families, creating dynasties if you're super rich, like just like building a support system and network and like making allegiances. And that was much more normalized. And then basically like there's this book called A History of Marriage. It's really great. It's written by Stephanie Kuntz. And she just says that like, as soon as it became marriage, like you could get divorced, you could survive outside of marriage if you were a woman, things changed so drastically, they almost had to put a new spin on it. It was like the rebranding of marriage, and making it about love, or like putting all this pressure on sex and love within couplehood. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I read a while ago, it was, I think it was just like a Tumblr post or something, but somebody was like talking about how they were working at a nursing home, and like sometimes if the people there trusted you, they would like tell, like the women would be like they would confess to murder.
What? That's not what I thought you were going to say at all.
No, like,
I thought you were going to say they were like, don't get married, honey. But actually like, I'm
like, don't get married. No. they had a problem and they found a solution because divorce was not an issue. And it's like, oh boy, if we're like, if like it is a common thing that women want to get out of this situation enough that they just like, you know, he's up on a ladder. Whoops, they kicked it out from under him.
Oh my God.
Maybe this is not the best thing.
Maybe it's not the best thing. Yeah.
No,
If we look for an end by accidental murder or by accidental murder, maybe we should find a different something different.
Yeah. And it did like, and so I think divorce is a good thing.
Me too. I think it's amazing. You should be able to get divorced. And I think part of the problem with marriage is it's one of the fastest ways to like legally sort out your belongings and your rights to one another, right? Like I think a lot of people get married because they're like, we need health insurance. We need to figure out what our asset situation is. I need to be able to visit you in the hospital or like have the kids, you know, be picked up at school. And if you're just a partner with somebody for years, even if you're living essentially as though you're married, if you break up, it's like a big mess. There's no prenup. There's no clear legal outline for what happens to your stuff. So like, I think there just needs to be other legal avenues for protection and safety of yourself and your assets for people. Yeah. It's like kind of a logistical issue sometimes.
Yeah.
And murder. It's like.
And murder.
And murder is the other issue.
And murder.
It's probably best.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Till death do us I part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And and there have been more emphasis too now on, it makes me feel like really good and like much less alone. There's like this growing emphasis on these like platonic relationships.
Yeah.
Like there was an article about it a while ago of like, you know, really your people or your friends, or maybe you have a person that like your buddies and you do everything together, and like you might even just like live next door to each other or live in the same house and like raise your kids together, or like, you know. And I think like there were these 5 women in China, I think, that like all retired and like saved their money and bought a whole house together, and now they just like that's the rest of their lives, and that sounds awesome.
That does. I mean, I'm married. I'm happily married. My wife and I were expecting our first kid in February.
Yeah.
Very excited. But I mean, I would love nothing more than for Abby and I and our kid to like move in with like Chloe and our friend Ben and Michelle, like just having a compound, right? Where it's just I don't have to deal with anybody else except like the people that I want to like see every day.
Yeah, you might have to explain that it's not a cult.
Yeah,
but like
who's in charge?
I mean, then
I
again,
think it's worth it.
I mean, cults are only bad when like the cult leader is an idiot and thinks he's got like,
I mean, a good cult leader.
The basic premise of a cult's amazing idea. You just need someone who's genuinely good and our savior up at the top.
I mean, I watch these documentaries about cults, and the first half.
Me too. I watched so many. They're crazy.
Yeah, and like the first like 45 minutes of it, you're like, that sounds awesome.
Are you talking about NXIVM? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not NXIVM. I'm talking honestly. NXIVM is yes, but the did you see Wild Wild Country?
Yes.
Where they all go and they live in this like, and I was like, that sounds so awesome. Like I would love to just live with all my friends in like this like compound area that's like a little town. That's awesome.
But that's like communal living, which does exist all across the United States and the world without like there being one charismatic leader at the top who drives a Rolls Royce through the village, you know, like
yeah. It's just the cult without the cult leader. It's fine.
Yeah. It's a consensus cult. You make consensus about what you worship.
I mean, I think Consensus Cult's also a great band name.
Oh, wow. Don't take it. It's mine. I can't.
Okay, it's yours.
Okay,
I won't write it down.
Copyrighted. We're done. Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, and I think about this too because it's so interesting to me. Of like, the things that you get when you're a kid, the things that you get a little twinge about, that you're like, that everybody expects, right? But in your little kid brain, you're like, this doesn't seem right. And then you get older and it's like, oh no, this is not right. Like, you know, for me, like my greatest dream when I was a kid was like, I want to buy a mansion and have all my friends live there. Like, there was no, like, that was the thing that I was so excited about. And yet it's like, especially with young girls, it's like, you know, we got all this Disney fairy tale stuff that's like, your happy ending is with a man.
Right. Well, I think both of you, even though you're in very different situations, are sort of describing like craving community, which I completely relate to. And I think that's what a lot of people want, and they don't know how to build it because there's just like not as many avenues for building community as there used to be. Even if it's like your neighborhood, people have to move all the time. Rents are always skyrocketing. And it can mean that you're constantly uprooting yourself and like are never able to really be close to people.
If you live in a big city, it's like your friends are dictated by how far away they are. Yeah. Like if you can't get to them on the train, like you're seeing them maybe every 3 months.
Yeah. Also, people are busy. We're like living in this crazy gig economy where there's no stability. There's no guarantee of like a livable wage. People are exhausted. It's like, okay, I'm going to go home and watch Netflix because I don't have the energy to like do this or that. I think the comedy community is kind of unique in that there were these like theaters for a long time before COVID where you could kind of go and be in a group of people you knew. And it's important to like be amongst people who aren't even your best friends. These like loose strangers, these people who we missed a lot during COVID, right? Like people who you didn't took it for granted, who you'd say hello to every day. We need all that stuff.
I mean, our theater community here in Boston. I mean, we had a Improv Boston, which was kind of our theater, and like that's where I would see. You know, I was guaranteed to see Chloe at least 2 or 3 times a week, going in just in passing, being like, "Hey, what's up?" And definitely, for like rehearsal times and stuff like that, shows. It's great, but yeah, ever since that shut down, it's. I mean, luckily we've had this channel and we've had, being able to do like Twitch stuff and Zoom stuff where we see people, we can see people, but it's not the same as being able to be like, hi, give me a hug.
No, it's definitely not the same as a
hug. Where are you based out of, Amy?
Actually, my name is pronounced Aimée. I'm just going to say
Aimée.
that now
I'm sorry.
before
Thank
we sign off. But
thank you.
Okay.
I apologize for mispronouncing it.
You really don't have to apologize. I always feel kind of guilty when I correct people. It's like a weird feedback loop, right?
It's your name. It should be pronounced.
If you let it go on too long, it's really a mess.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
absolutely.
Impressed. Yeah.
Where are you based out of?
I grew up in.
Happened for years.
What's that?
Go. I'm impressed because some people will just let people mispronounce their name for years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's good to get.
I'm not ready to succumb yet. Maybe when I'm older, I won't have this spark yet.
You're doing great.
So I grew up in New York City, and I'm going back there, but I've been kind of traveling and not settled anywhere. So, but I'm going back to New York, and I'm probably going to get an apartment in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, New York's one of those. I mean, I'm sure pandemic in New York, it was probably nice to be like. Were you in the city during
I was actually in Los Angeles during that when it first started. Wow. We were in serious lockdown, and I think it was actually better there in a way because there's more space to walk around, and COVID hit New York City so hard, really fast, and it's bad in LA, but it's just like different than hearing sirens all the time or. Walking by the hospital and all that stuff. It's very different. Yeah. LA is much more, from what I understand. The last time I think I was in LA, I think I was like 10. So like I haven't been to LA since. But from what I understand, it's a very spread out city. Definitely, yeah. And I couldn't drive at the time, so I did feel very like stuck in one place. I didn't want to like get in a lift, and I didn't want to take public transportation. I've since gotten my driver's license, completely spurred by that experience. I was like, I gotta be able to drive out of here.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't need your license, you don't need it. I mean, when there's public transit,
but
when you do,
you really need it.
Yeah. I mean, I was 16. Like it was my 16th birthday. I got my driver's license. I remember like my mom.
You passed on the first test?
Yeah, I took I took a class in my high school. Like it was part of my high school curriculum. Like I had a day, and
that's Midwest culture.
Yeah, Midwest. In the Midwest, you can't, like, there is no public transit.
Right.
Like, public transit is when you get, your friend's mom to pick you and 3 other people up.
She stops doing that after you turn 25.
Yeah. She doesn't care to do it. It's like, Mom, we want to go to the bar.
Some people in the Midwest still do that.
Yeah. Well, the town I lived in this college town called Champaign-Urbana before I moved out to Boston, and I worked at a bar, and I was the door guy at a bar, so I wouldn't be done until 2:33 in the morning, and after that there's no public transit, and it wasn't a huge town, but it was long enough that if I would have had to walk, it would have been another like hour walk, to get to my house. So I would have to, I'd have to call a cab, and then that's like $15. It's like,
oh my gosh, $15 for a cab.
Yeah,
that's actually a great price.
Is it? I don't know. This was years ago. I don't know.
This was a while ago. Yeah.
Back in the 70s, it was $15. Yeah. So, Aimée, what are you watching right now? Are you watching or reading anything? Any recommendations for the crowd or for Chloe?
Recommendations? Well, I was going to be honest about what I'm watching, but it's not a recommendation.
Oh, well, no, then please be honest.
If you gotta choose one,
that's what we're
I've been watching Dawson's Creek because I can kind of watch it while I'm doing my job, and it was popular when I was like of the age to be really into Dawson's Creek, and I remember feeling very contemptuous of it at the time. But now rewatching it, I'm like, wow, I really watched this show for a long time because I remember a lot of this. like childhood, Aimée was lying to herself that she wasn't into it because I'd definitely seen all these episodes before. I was also just like thinking about Katie Holmes, like what a journey she's been on, right?
Oh man.
Yeah. Katie Holmes has indeed been on an adventure.
And she must have been very young when this show started, probably like 19 or something.
How old was she when she married Tom Cruise? How old was she when that whole thing went down?
I don't know, but she's 40 now.
Oh.
And I think their kid is like 15 or something, right? So she's probably in her mid 20s, I'd guess.
Yeah.
Wow, that had to have been a. Like, oh man! Speaking of cults,
that's not, Going Clear. That's a really good documentary about cults.
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It's. Have you seen the My Scientology movie?
No.
It's I'm trying to think of the guy that made it. He does a lot of documentaries. And let me see here. Let me find his name here real quick. Louis Theroux.
Oh, yeah.
So basically he was trying to do get like interviews with like all the higher ups in the Scientology community, and of course being shut down at every turn. So he decided to cast actors in LA. He decided to cast actors to play these people, and would have them do like have them read like statements that they've made like publicly, and like get into like who they are as people.
Wow.
And like he was having people follow him around and videotape him, and like it was just like the whole thing was so creepy. Like the
really
links,
disturbing.
like I'm scared to say that word on the internet because
Scientology.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think that there's like a certain voyeurism to watching all of these documentaries for sure, but it's also given me a really sympathetic sense of what happens to cult victims in a way that I just did not have before. Like there's one documentary about Jonestown, and we have this like colloquial joke about don't drink the Kool-Aid, but when you watch the documentary, it's like these people were forced to drink the Kool-Aid at gunpoint. It was like drink the Kool-Aid or you're gonna get shot. So and we have this like idea that people like willingly follow cult leaders, but what really happens is they get sucked in little bit by little bit until it's like it feels like there's nowhere to turn and there's nowhere to go, and sometimes it's not. So I recommend watching cult documentaries. They're really interesting.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the second they're doing a second season of the Nexium cult show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Which
one's very
was-
interesting because there was 2 different versions. Did you watch both of them?
I don't think I watched the other. What was the? So the one I watched was on. I believe it was on
HBO?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's another one, I think it's on Stars, that
Oh, I don't have.
is
Stars.
mostly led by that blonde actress whose name I can't remember right now. I'm sorry, I should look it up and I'll send it to you. But it's funny because the people who do the HBO documentary provided most of the footage. So a lot of the documentary is about kind of absolving them of any responsibility for what happened, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like them like, damn, how did I do this? Why did I participate? But they were really high up the chain. They were making a lot of money off these cult victims, right? And then in the other one, the Stars one, you see different kinds of footage, and you can kind of see how they like capitalize on this situation in a really messed up way.
Oh,
And there's like shots of Keith Raniere, who's the cult leader of this whole thing, where he like makes these disgusting jokes I'm not going to repeat. And the guy from the HBO documentary is like, ha 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 ha, so funny. It's like it just completely ruins everything they tried to establish in the HBO doc. It's so funny.
Yeah,
Oh my
I'll have
gosh.
to check. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Because you do like the HBO documentary. You feel like I felt so like I. It's like what we were saying at the top, right? When we were first started talking about cults. Like at the start, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
But then you get so far in, and then you realize, oh, it's not. And
Yeah.
then
Because it also is making people feel really included and like they're part of something like we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I'm like you really learn like when you look at these things and you study these things, like you really learn a lot about humans. And like I mean, even watching like the Firefest documentary,
Yeah, that's
like
a good one. Actually, a headline from something I wrote appears in one of the documentaries. It's really funny. So you can see my
really?
name in the Firefest
it's
documentary.
amazing.
which one? Which
I think the first one that came out, but now I can't remember what they were called.
yeah, because there was a Netflix one and there was a Hulu one.
I think it was the
Yeah.
Hulu one.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just-
the one I watched. I'll have to go back and watch that and
Okay.
see if I see your name. Because that one I could probably watch a couple of different times.
Okay.
Because that one was. Did you see the one about
Yeah.
WeWork?
Do you remember?
Oh.
Oh, I haven't watched the WeWork one, but I should. I think I would like that one, the Adam Newman story.
Yeah, that one's nuts. That one is pretty. You should just
It's
like, oh
so
man, this guy has no
crazy, like,
soul.
How far things go, and like they're like they interview people that are like they just wanted to keep going, and so we did, and it's like what?
Yeah. It's really hard to take a stand when you're in that kind of situation. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for letting me talk
anyway.
about cults a lot. That's kind of one of my favorite
God.
things. Not really anything
I
to do
would
with my
have
book.
you. I would have you on. I would have you on to just talk about. I mean, maybe we should just do a cult show. I mean, there's a.
We'll start a new
there's lots of
podcast
that.
about
Let's start a
cults.
new. Yeah, let's do a cult show. That I am in, like. I am
Well,
really into cults.
I think
No.
it. I mean, but I think it does have something to do with your book because, like you were saying, it's like all those people are looking for community, and then they find a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, they find somebody where it's like a hierarchical system and the person has, I mean, usually the common thing is that the person at the top eventually strikes some sort of vein of wealth, right? And then anybody who takes a stand against them just gets persecuted by lawsuits mostly. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
It's how they keep control. So you're like afraid to say anything because you're going to get obliterated financially and psychologically by these people with an unending supply of cash.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes me kind of feel safe against the Scientologists is that I have no
don't have enough
disposable
money.
income. Like,
No, they would just put you to work
I-
scrubbing a toilet with a
Yeah,
toothbrush or
like
something.
they would put me in the hull of their ship.
Yeah.
And just I would have to
You'd have to
scrub
really
boat
be
toilets.
invest. You'd have to really be.
Yeah, I was like, even if I wanted to be part, there's a guy on TikTok right now that is going in and trying to join Scientology, but going in with like a body cam, and like I'm like, dude, you are being.
He's going to the Christmas
might
tree room, if you know what I mean.
I mean, yeah, I want to message this guy and be like, dude, be careful because they will.
They straight up, I'm sure they murder people. I'm sure of it. And if they're watching, I'm on to you.
I don't think anyone on Scientology would watch this show, but maybe. I like how I say on Scientology.
They're my audience. Buy my book, Scientology. I think it would do really well. It could be adapted.
It's $12,000. But no, I did put the link in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
For Aimée's book, The Lonely Hunter. Comes out in 2 months. It comes out around the time actually my daughter is going to be born. So
so you'll remember.
Maybe I'll buy it.
It sounds like you'll be a little too busy, but yeah.
I'll buy it and use that for I'll read that to her.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if that's good for her, but maybe and congratulations on your baby.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have a great end of the new year. Thanks for having me.
You as well. Thank you so much, Aimée, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Oh man, what a great show today! I feel like we could have gone maybe another half hour.
We covered a lot
just on cults. I think that would have been. And now I kind of do want to put together maybe a cult show because I think that would be very interesting.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I don't know what's going on tonight. If there's anything going on tonight on 2MB, we're on this weird kind of limbo until winter starts and all the comedians move inside. Then
they come back to us.
They'll come back to 2MB when they can't do shows outside anymore, which is great. I mean, awesome. We do have some new shows coming down the pike. There's a musical trivia show that is in the works. I'm not going to say too much about it, but get excited about that. We started doing a new show with our dear friend Josh Michel called Josh Solves with Friends. It's on Tuesday nights where Josh basically gets somebody on the show with him, and they go over and do like crossword puzzles and like all kinds of word puzzles and things like that. It's very fun if you like that kind of thing.
Words.
If you're into word puzzles and just kind of just puzzles in general, it's a good show to watch. It's Tuesdays at I believe 9:00 is when that starts. Yeah. Whew.
Time.
And that's our show.
That's our show. I hope everybody has a nice, relaxing weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna go eat some more leftovers, and then go do an improv workshop. Pretty excited about that. What do you have going on the rest of your day, Chloe?
Oh, I'm just chilling out. I am gonna be so just like relaxed this weekend. I don't have anything planned. I've had a lot of with Halloween and my birthday and stuff. I've been doing a lot of social stuff, and I need to have a people break, and I'm doing it now.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
And normally I would ask you about words of wisdom, but I think Kit Tempest got your words of wisdom there. Have a fun weekend. Don't join a cult.
Join a cult.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next
bro.
week. Bye.